welcome. Welcome everybody. How are you doing today? It's so very nice to have you here. And I really hope that all of you are doing really well and staying safe. And I also hope that you are a little more relaxed with the political outcomes right now. And if you are not fully relaxed yet, then let's remember that we can use what arises here. If you really still are experiencing fear or worry or anxiety over what's happening, then let's remember we can use what arises here for awakening, embodiment, and freedom. And today I wanted to speak a little bit about tenderness, kindness. Tenderness, which really is the symptom of our natural state. When we are at rest in our natural stage, kindness, tenderness is naturally present. And you know, everybody knows tenderness. Everybody knows that. You experience that in moments when you connect with nature. You experience it when you connect with young children or animals. And, you know, unfortunately, oftentimes it's so much more difficult to experience kindness and tenderness towards your own experience, towards what arises within. So much easier to experience kindness and tenderness towards others. And why is that? These are really the habits, these are the patterns of the past. This is what we have learned, this is what we have inherited, quote unquote, from others. We have learned certain ways of being, certain behaviors. We accepted these habits and patterns because that was what helped us to survive in a moment. However, by doing that, we gave up that natural openness of kindness, that natural openness of tenderness, which is really necessary for us to be able to meet and fully meet the patterns of the past. You know, we can't even approach the patterns of the past if there's no kindness. Right? If there's judgment, if there is a sense of wrongness or rejection, you know, you can't even really be here, right? We need that kindness. We need the tenderness to even fully notice the patterns of the past and then also to fully be present. And why is that so important? You know, why is it so important to be fully present to the patterns of the past? You know, the past, patterns of the past, they often live in the unconscious. So that means you're not aware of them all the time. You may be going about your life and things are going relatively okay, and then seemingly out of nowhere, something happens and reactivity arises, or certain feelings or emotions, or certain ways of thinking, or certain behaviors. And it looks like it just came out of nowhere, and then we act on that. And then that subsides, you know, when we act on the past, it recharges itself. And then it subsides into unconscious. And so it looks like it disappeared, but it really is still present. And these patterns of the past is what takes our attention away from presence. And you see, that's so key. That discrimination is so key for awakening, embodiment, and freedom. Because we have to be able to tell what is the past and what is present. And we have to be able to be present to the arising past, so it doesn't take our attention. And this is really where kindness, tenderness comes in. So really, there can't be practice without kindness. There can't be a true practice without tenderness, without the willingness to absolutely be open to what is present with no judgment. So we have a 3-week intensive coming up. I called it With Tenderness to the Very End, which really is the instruction I got from Papaji in a dream, you know, when I was myself struggling with some past that was arising many years ago. And you know, in that struggle, I wanted to abandon tenderness. And yet Papaji came in and said, with tenderness to the very end. So with tenderness to the very end, in our 3-week intensive, I will be speaking with you more about this. And we'll be looking at this experientially. And most of all, we will be addressing the patterns of the past. Once again, we'll be breaking out of the patterns of the past, or breaking the patterns of the past with awareness, with kindness, with tenderness, so that we can be more present. And in the process of that, we also gain more and more trust. Trust in our true nature, trust, which is so essential for awakening, embodiment, and freedom. So I really want to invite you to join me. There's many other things I will be speaking about in this intensive. You can read about this on my website, neelam.org. And if you are enjoying these videos, please subscribe, please share. This is so important that this becomes more visible. Please join our emailing list. And as always, I'm very much looking forward to our time together.